Stop for a moment and look around you. Really look. Most people move through their lives in a state of sensory sleep, convinced that they are the captains of their souls and the masters of their fate. They believe their bank balance, their physical health, and their mental clarity are the direct results of their conscious choices. They think that if they just try harder, work longer, and hustle more, they can break through any ceiling. But while they are busy grinding their gears, there is a silent, invisible force shaping every thought they think and every action they take. You are here because you've felt the friction. You've felt that exhausting resistance where every step forward feels like walking through chest-high water. You've blamed your lack of discipline, your lack of motivation, or perhaps you've blamed your own genetics. What you are about to find out is that you aren't lazy and you aren't broken. You are simply outnumbered by your own surroundings. You are trying to win a war while living in a camp designed for your defeat. You are fighting a battle against the very air you breathe, and in that fight, the environment always wins. I am calling you out because you have been treating your environment as a neutral backdrop to your life, when in reality, it is the lead architect of your soul. You've been trying to build a cathedral while standing in a junkyard, wondering why the air feels heavy and the vision feels clouded. Today, I am going to show you why your environment is the single greatest predictor of your future, and how, if you don't deliberately curate the world around you, you are essentially letting the average world dictate who you become. We are going to go deep into the psychological mechanics of how your room, your friends, and your phone are currently sabotaging your greatness. The great tragedy of the modern achiever is the willpower myth. We are sold the lie that if we just want it enough, we can overcome any obstacle. We are told that grit is the only variable that matters. But willpower is a finite battery. It is a chemical resource in the brain that drains with every decision, every temptation, and every bit of environmental static. If you have to use your willpower just to ignore the clutter on your desk, or to resist the negativity of a roommate, or to silence the constant notifications on your phone, you are bleeding energy. By the time you actually sit down to do the work that matters, the work that builds wealth and legacy, your battery is empty. You have no juice left for the actual labor of greatness because you spent it all just surviving your surroundings. Nature does not negotiate with intent. It responds to conditions. A seed possesses the blueprint for a massive 1,000-year-old oak tree. But if you drop that seed onto a hot pavement in the middle of a desert, the blueprint is worthless. The potential is locked away in a wooden shell because the environment refused to provide the keys of moisture, soil, and shade. The seed didn't fail. The environment failed the seed. Most of you are currently living on mental pavement. You are surrounded by voices that prioritize comfort over growth and certainty over vision. You are immersed in digital spaces engineered by billion-dollar corporations to keep you reactive, agitated, and small. When you sit in a room with 5 people who complain about the economy, you don't just hear them, you begin to vibrate at their frequency. Your brain, in its primal biological drive for social cohesion, begins to mirror their limitations. This is a survival mechanism that served our ancestors well in the tribe, but in the modern world, it is a suicide pact for your ambition. You become a sheep not by choice, but by proximity. This is the invisible prison. You aren't being held back by a lack of talent or a lack of opportunity. You are being held back by the gravity of your daily life. You are trying to launch a rocket while the ground beneath you is made of quicksand. You must realize that you are the psychological average of the 5 people you talk to most, the 5 ideas you feed your mind daily, and the physical order or disorder of the space where you spend your time. If you want to change your destiny, you must first change the stage on which it's being played. You cannot be a level 10 person in a level 2 environment. The math simply doesn't work. To master your life, you must understand the law of environmental influence. This law dictates that the human nervous system is an open loop. We are not closed systems. We are constantly sampling the environment to decide what level of energy, ambition, and focus is appropriate for the situation. The hidden principle is this: your environment is the thermostat of your soul. If the thermostat is set to mediocre, no amount of internal fire will keep you hot for long. The room will eventually suck the heat out of you until you match the temperature of everyone else. Think of your mind as a high-precision instrument. When you are in an environment of excellence where the standards are high, the aesthetics are sharp, and the conversations are about the future, your instrument calibrates to that level. You find yourself thinking bigger thoughts, not because you tried, but because the atmospheric pressure of the room demanded it. This is environmental osmosis. Success becomes the path of least resistance. When excellence is the norm, you don't need courage to be great, you would need courage to be average. You are here because you have been trying to will yourself out of a low-level life. But willpower is for the amateur. Design is for the pro. If you want a different result, you must stop fighting the symptoms and start changing the soil. Most people are unconscious adapters. They accept the friends they happen to meet in school, the job that was easiest to get, and the digital habits that were pushed on them by a predatory algorithm. They never stop to ask the most important question in the world. Is this environment feeding my vision, or is it eating my potential? Consider the flywheel of environment. When you place yourself in a high-stakes environment, the momentum of the group pulls you along. If everyone in your circle is building empires, optimizing their health, and speaking the language of abundance, you don't need a motivational video to get to work. You do it because it is the baseline of your reality. You don't have to fight your surroundings to succeed. You would have to fight your surroundings to fail. You would be the outcast if you weren't growing. That is the kind of pressure that creates diamonds. This is the secret that the 1% understands better than anyone else. They aren't superhuman. They aren't born with more grit or more hustle. They are simply well-positioned. They curate their associations with the ruthlessness of a diamond cutter. They inhabit physical spaces that reflect order, beauty, and abundance. They guard their mental inputs with a burning desire for clarity. They know that if they let average people or average thoughts into their inner sanctum, their own vibration will drop. If you feel like you've been hitting a ceiling, it's time to realize the ceiling isn't in your head, it's in the room you're standing in. You must either remodel your world or move to a new one. Let's look at history for the blueprint of this environmental shift. Think of the great intellectual and artistic explosions, the Renaissance in Florence, the Enlightenment in Paris, the tech boom in Silicon Valley. These weren't caused by a sudden random spike in human IQ. They were caused by hotspots of environment. Imagine a brilliant mind born in a remote village where no one can read and the only goal is survival. That mind will likely die in that village, its potential completely untapped, having never written a word or painted a stroke. But take that same mind and place it in the middle of 15th century Florence, surrounded by Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and the Medici family. Suddenly, that individual is producing works that will be studied for 1,000 years. The person didn't change, the climate did. The environment provided the permission for greatness to emerge. It provided the tools, the rivals, and the expectations. Compare this to the domesticated lion. Think of a man named David. David has the heart of a conqueror. He wants to build something massive. He has a vision that keeps him up at night. But David stays in his hometown. His friends spend their weekends drinking, gambling, and talking about high school sports. His family tells him to be realistic, to not get ahead of himself, and to play it safe. David tries to stay motivated. He listens to podcasts, he sets goals, but every time he steps out of his front door, his environment begins to sand down his edges. Over a decade, David doesn't pull his friends up. The gravity of the group pulls David down. He starts to talk like them. He starts to settle like them. He starts to believe that his big dreams were just childish fantasies. He becomes a level 4 version of a level 10 man. He is a lion who has been convinced he's a house cat because he spent too much time on the sofa with people who are afraid of the jungle. This is the fate of 95% of people. They are environmentally lobotomized by the small minds around them. Now, consider the power of the micro-environment. You don't need to move across the country tomorrow to start this process, but you must start filtering your reality with extreme prejudice. Imagine a woman building a business from her bedroom. At first, it's a mess, but then she makes a choice. She cleans her office until it looks like a boardroom. She buys a high-quality chair and a clean desk. She deletes every app on her phone that serves as digital junk food. She stops answering the calls of the energy vampires in her life, the family members who only call to dump their problems, and the friends who only want to gossip. She replaces her morning news with the biographies of the greats. She hasn't changed her talent, she hasn't changed her luck, but she has changed the physics of her life. She is no longer running against a gale force wind. She has turned the wind around. She is closer than she thinks because she has finally removed the anchors. She has created a bubble of excellence that protects her desire from the toxic normalcy of the world outside. Within months, her business explodes, not because she worked harder, but because her environment finally allowed her to work deeper. This leads us to the most painful and necessary realization of all, the people audit. Your social circle is your future preview. If your friends spend their time discussing other people, complaining about the government, or seeking the next distraction, that is your future. Loyalty to the past is a noble trait, but loyalty to a dead version of yourself is a suicide pact. If you want to reach the heights, you must associate with people who view your impossible goals as standard operating procedure. You need people who make you feel behind because of how fast they are moving. If you are the smartest, most ambitious person in your circle is a cage. Many people struggle with this because they feel they are abandoning people. But you must realize that you cannot lift others up if you are being dragged down into the mud with them. You owe it to the world to become the highest version of yourself, and that requires you to be a discriminating gatekeeper of your own time. You are not a landfill for other people's trauma or a sounding board for their mediocrity. You are a creator, and a creator needs a studio, not a circus. So, how do you take command of this architect? How do you rebuild the stage of your life so that success becomes inevitable? It requires a total, ruthless, environmental audit. First, you must sanitize your physical space. Order is the mother of manifestation. If your environment is chaotic, your execution will be chaotic. Your brain is constantly processing the visual data of your surroundings. If you are surrounded by mess, your brain is using RAM to process that mess instead of using it to solve problems. Your workspace should be a temple of focus. Remove every item that doesn't serve the definite chief aim of your life. Make your environment an automation for success. If you want to be healthy, remove every trace of junk food from your house so that you have to exert effort to be unhealthy. If you want to be wealthy, clear the clutter from your office so there is room for big ideas to breathe. Second, you must curate your digital atmosphere. You are a product of the data you consume. Most people allow their mental environment to be colonized by outrage, celebrity gossip, and fear. They wake up and immediately hand their brain over to a feed of people they don't even like. You must treat your attention as your most valuable currency, more valuable than money. Unfollow the small. Block the negative. Subscribe to the heroic. Your phone should be a portal to an empire, not a window into a gutter. If an account doesn't make you want to work harder or think bigger, it has no business being in your feed. Third, conduct a relational audit. This is the mastermind principle in reverse. Who is draining your battery? Who is questioning your vision with subtle digs and passive-aggressive comments? You must move these people to the outer circle of your life. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to have a big confrontation, but you must stop feeding on their energy and letting them feed on yours. Seek out those who are 10 years ahead of you. Pay for access to high-level environments if you have to. The price of a high-level mastermind or a high-end gym membership is nothing compared to the cost of staying in a low-level social circle that keeps you comfortable in your failure. Fourth, own your transition environments. Most people waste their transition time. The commute, the gym, the chores on mindless noise or silence. Turn your car, your train ride, or your walk into a university on wheels. By controlling the soundtrack of your life through audiobooks, deep dive podcasts, and specialized lectures, you are essentially carrying a high-frequency environment with you wherever you go. You are no longer subject to the noise of the street. You are living in a different world than the person standing next to you. Fifth, establish sanctuary boundaries. Do not allow average thoughts to enter your home or your workspace. This means being careful about what you talk about and who you invite in. If someone wants to gossip, complain, or vent about things they have no intention of changing, let them do it elsewhere. Guard the vibration of your space with a burning desire for progress. Your environment should be a place where excuses feel like a foreign language, unrecognized and unwelcome. 6. Expose yourself to magnitude. Regularly place yourself in environments that break your current thinking. Go and walk through the most expensive neighborhood in your city once a week. Sit in a high-end hotel lobby and just observe how the people there move and speak. Visit a museum of great art or a library with centuries of wisdom. Let your eyes see what is possible. Let your nervous system acclimatize to the frequency of wealth, history, and power. This expands your internal map. It makes your current big problems look like the pebbles they actually are. It stretches your comfort zone until the impossible starts to feel standard. Finally, understand the power of aesthetic order. Beauty is not a luxury. It is a psychological nutrient. When you are in a beautiful, well-ordered place, your cortisol levels drop and your creativity rises. You don't need a mansion to start this. Even if you live in a single room, make that room a masterpiece of order. Light a candle, organize your books, keep your clothes pressed. When you treat your environment with respect, you are telling your subconscious mind that the person living in this environment is someone of importance, someone who deserves success. The world is crowded with average people waiting for a change of heart, never realizing they actually need a change of scenery. They think they need more information, but what they really need is a new vibration. Your environment is a choice, and it is a choice you make every single hour of every single day. You are either the architect of your world, or you are the victim of the world someone else built for you. Intelligence is a seed, but environment is the climate. It doesn't matter how much potential you have, it doesn't matter how high your IQ is, and it doesn't matter how much hustle you possess if you are living in a permanent mental winter. You cannot bloom in the dark. As you finish this, I want you to look around. Look at the room you're sitting in. Look at the icons on your phone. Look at the names of the people you texted today. Look at the clothes on your floor and the tabs open on your browser. Do these things look like the future you want? Do they look like the tools of a conqueror or the clutter of a commoner? Do they reflect the person you want to become, or are they just comfortable weights keeping you anchored to a past you've already outgrown? You are here because the friction has finally become unbearable. You are tired of the struggle. You are ready to stop using your willpower to fight a broken world and start using your intelligence to build a winning one. The greatest move you can make right now is not a change in strategy, but a change in station. You must become a stranger to the environments that no longer fit the size of your soul. You must be willing to be lonely for a season if it means escaping the crowd that is holding you back. Burn the ships of your mediocre associations, clear the rubble of your chaotic spaces, ruthlessly delete the digital noise, and build a world around you that makes greatness inevitable. Stop trying to find success and start building the environment that attracts it. The life you want, the wealth, the impact, the clarity is already out there, waiting for the room to be ready. It cannot enter a space filled with chaos and small-mindedness. You must vacate the old version of your life to make room for the new one. Design your world, or the world will design you.